GTA 6 is estimated to cost Rockstar Games and Take-Two Interactive around $2 billion. But how? Where is the money going? Stay tuned because you may be surprised.
This is DMA Design in Dundee.
Grand Theft Auto.
If you're a parent, there are some other things that you should know that should send shivers down your spine if you hear these three words: Grand Theft Auto.
In this two-part series, we're going to explore how Rockstar's $2 billion gamble could either be one of the best gaming success stories or the most embarrassing tale of a corporate giant's fall from grace. But firstly, I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I don't know if I can get there, but any support you can give me to help me get there by the end of the year is massively appreciated. Honestly, I'm still relatively new to YouTube, and having you all coming along on this journey with me is incredible. Thank you for your support. To start exploring Rockstar's $2 billion liability, we need to go back in time a little bit. I want to go over Rockstar Games' beginning and their history so I can give you all the scale and the scope of how much they've really grown as a business over the past 30 years. And this story doesn't start with Sam or Dan Houser. Rockstar Games have a strong heritage as a games developer, but before Rockstar was, well, Rockstar, they were DMA Design. Starting in 1983, Dave Jones and two of his friends, Steve Hammond and Russell Kay, started producing games together, with Mike Daly joining a year later. It's worth noting that none of these people were full-time on the game's development front. They would work other jobs to fund their projects, and it was more a group of friends getting together and making games for their own pleasure. For a couple of years, they produced games that got them by. They weren't about to break any records, but they survived as a small business, and when I say business, they were mates making games for the joy of the art. At the time, Dave Jones had a full-time electronics job at Timex Dundee, but he was later made redundant, and with his redundancy pay, he bought himself an Amiga 1000. This set the wheels in motion for DMA Design. Originally, Dave Jones wanted to call the business Acme Software, but the name was taken, so they settled for DMA Design, which stands for Direct Memory Access, which funnily enough was a name taken from the Amiga programming manuals that were literally laying around their office. But at the time, DMA had some fun with some local journalists by telling them that DMA stands for doesn't mean anything. With a few games out the way, DMA moved to their first office, which was across the road from Dave Jones's father-in-law's chip shop. This would become the home of DMA Design. It was at this time DMA started producing a game called Lemmings, which was originally intended to be a sequel to a previous game that they made called Blood Money. This game did 55,000 sales on the first day of launch when it was published by DMA's publishing partner, Psygnosis, a subsidiary of Sony Computer Entertainment, and 55,000 copies for a small developer, especially back then, was insane. This gave DMA the funds to move to their new offices. In 1990, DMA was expanding.
Welcome to DMA Towers. I'm going to give you a short guided tour today. Now, this is one of the software engineering labs. Come with me. Mike over here is playing one of his favourite games.
And with this saw a move to 49 Meadowside Dundee, an office block with space for 4 rooms, which would allow their team to simultaneously work on multiple games. Now, the story of DMA consists of a lot more information, and there's a full webpage by Nostalgia Nerd going into every single detail. But for now, let's fast forward to 1995 when DMA began development on a game called Race and Chase. For this game, the team had to bring something new to the table. Dave Jones was a stickler for detail, and this game had to be innovative. This took the form of a top-down racing game, which would be the first time automotive gaming had met the open world. The idea that you do something because you choose to do it, rather than the game just telling you that that's what you're supposed to do. This was a fresh idea, but to make the game more direct and more fitting to the nature of the game, it was renamed to Grand Theft Auto.
This is DMA Design in Dundee. They make computer games. They're only started in 1987 by somebody made redundant from Timex up the road, and they've grown very rapidly in the last couple of years on the back of the success of a game called Lemmings.
Now, the reason why all of this is important is because during this time period, DMA Design had been bought and sold repeatedly, with DMA being acquired by Gremlin Interactive, then following the release of GTA 2, was later acquired by Infogrames, which later actually became Atari, but not before DMA was sold to a company called Take-Two Interactive. Now, BMG Interactive were Take-Two Interactive's publishing partner, and they were also the publisher for the first Grand Theft Auto game, which is actually what originally piqued Take-Two Interactive's interest in acquiring BMG, the publisher, and DMA Design for the IP of Grand Theft Auto. Up until this point, DMA were in a position where they were surviving as a business off the back of the profits from the games they'd sold, but the subsidies they were given from their parent companies only went so far, and only after the release of GTA were they really gaining attention from a wider audience. Cue Sam Houser. After working his way up from the post room at Bertelsmann's music group, in 1996 Sam Houser was named Head of Development at BMG Interactive. Sam Houser became a video producer for BMG Interactive after he and his father had lunch with an executive producer of the music label, who claimed that Houser had had some good ideas. After BMG partnered with a small CD-ROM company, Houser transferred to the interactive publishing division of BMG in order to work closely with developing video games. Credited as an executive producer, Houser is also the creator of several of the games in the Grand Theft Auto series with his brother Dan. On Grand Theft Auto 3, his responsibilities were, in his own words, to be militant on ensuring the game had a look, a sound, a story, and a feel that worked. His description of the series as a whole is that the three 6th generation Grand Theft Auto games form a trilogy featuring our distorted look at the East Coast around the time of the millennium, which was Grand Theft Auto 3, followed by our reinterpretation of 80s Miami, Vice City, and lastly our look at early 90s California, San Andreas. With the stage set and Take-Two Interactive now owning BMG Interactive and DMA Design, in March 2002 the Take-Two and BMG conglomerate was named Rockstar Studios.
Says for Studio, doesn't it, dickhead?
And 2 months later, in May, the DMA office became known as Rockstar North. Leslie Benzies was put in charge of Rockstar North to manage the 25 employees they kept on. But during the changes in management, DMA Design lost many employees. This included some of the DMA founders such as Mike Daly. Several games were also scrapped during this time, including the Nintendo 64 ports for Grand Theft Auto. During this period that we've just covered, they barely made any money at all. GTA 1 barely sold 1 million copies, and GTA 2 sold 1.5 million, but it was met with a load of negative reviews. And of course you had that massive spike of initial sales, but when that publicity came out that the game was effectively rubbish, the game seemed to die out. Over the years since the merger, Rockstar Games has become a behemoth of a business, completely non-comparable to who they were in the late 90s. So where does that bring us now? And how on earth will GTA 6 cost nearly $2 billion to make? Well, GTA 4 cost $100 million to make and grossed $2 billion. GTA 5 cost $265 million to make and grossed $7.7 billion as of August 2023. And GTA 6 is rumoured to cost around about $2 billion. Now let's break down all of these figures. Step 1, we need to outline a time period. Red Dead Redemption 2 was released in 2018, and from what we understand, the only prior GTA 6 development was writing, scripting, recruiting and planning. So we'll define a 6-year development cycle to present day, but we'll also tag on the extra year to push the closing cost period to the end of the first week of launch. So in total we'll have just over 7 years. Step 2, let's do a cost breakdown. Now what do we include in this cost breakdown? Well, firstly, Rockstar don't produce many games, so we can safely assume that a lot of the people working at Rockstar are probably going to be working on GTA 6, and we'll go into this in a bit more detail in a minute. But speaking to a few industry professionals, I've had mixed responses on what companies actually include in their game's development cost. Some companies will only include the cost of developers physically working on the game, whereas other companies will include the entire operational costs of all employees and staff associated with various offices and teams that work on the game. For our cost breakdown, we're going to use a hybrid of these systems. We're going to assume that most people working at Rockstar Games at the moment are working on GTA 6, and we're also going to include all the operational costs of the various facilities that they have. Well, as of 2024, according to Rocket Reach, Rockstar Games has 6,846 employees across all of their studios, a huge increase from the 1,000 employees that worked in GTA 5. Let's average that down to 5,500, as not all of those employees would have worked at Rockstar since 2018. Let's say Rockstar only had 70% of its employees working on GTA 6. It's probably more, but let's do worst case, so that gives us 3,850 employees. Now let's be extremely conservative and say 50% of that 70% of employees are in HR, recruitment, cleaning, filing, business administration, and all of those sorts of roles. That gives us 1,925 employees, and let's say the average salary for these employees is around about $35,000. Some will be on less, some will be on a bit more. So that's 1,925 employees on $35,000 a year for 6 years, and that's a cost of $404,250,000. Now the other 50% of these 3,850 employees would be more senior. They'd be working on development, social media, artistry and design roles. We'll say the average salary here would be around about $50,000 a year. It's going to be a bit more than this, but once again, we're doing worst case calculations. So 1,925 times 50,000 for 6 years equates to 577,500,000. So if we add both of these together, we get 981,750,000. I think we can safely call that $1 billion, because what's $20 million? It's crazy, these figures are mad. However, GTA 6 is 1 year away, and we know that Rockstar's been employing like crazy over the past 12 months. So I think we can comfortably add on an extra 200 million. If we divide the above figure by 6, we get about 160 million, but let's just call it 200 million, especially with the increased rate that they're actually employing people. So we're at about $1.2 billion already. Let's just reel off the rest of the stuff really quick. Music licensing, around 5 million. Marketing and ad space, GTA 5 was around 100 million spend. Let's double it for GTA 6, that's 200 million. Maintenance, bills and upkeep of the 9 Rockstar offices, which is approximately $300,000 a year, which across 6 years would be about $16 million. Additional office space, we currently know that Rockstar are currently renting additional offices for workers further afield in nondescript locations. Let's put this cost at around $1 million a year. Then we have actor wages, so Michael Hollick was paid 100 grand in GTA 4. It's predicted that GTA 5's protagonists were paid around 300,000 due to the extended time that they worked in the game, and I'm guessing Manny Perez and Dylan Rourke, if it is Dylan Rourke playing Jason, would probably be getting around $500,000 if it's around 100k per annum. Then on top of that, there's all the additional characters, so let's call this total spend 5 million. Then there are all the acquisitions that Rockstar's been a part of, purchasing CFX.RE to buy into some of their software for use in GTA 6 and GTA Online. Then the cost of buying Ruffian Games to turn it into Rockstar Dundee to work on a game which supposedly they're not allowed to talk about. It's GTA 6. Shh. Ruffian Games was turning over about $25 million a year. The standard purchase price of a business is usually 5 times EBITDA, which is just a posh word for turnover. So this acquisition would have been around about $125 million. You think we're done? Then we have to factor in a 5% cost valuation. This covers things like computers, phones, software, infrastructure, security systems. They probably didn't spend that much on that one, which all in would come in at about 77 million. Then we have legal compliance costs in all countries. So various boards, solicitors, and review parties will have to vet the game for compliance in certain locations. This is external from ratings boards and is a privately funded venture, which this could cost them a couple of million in itself. I couldn't find much on how much this costs, but knowing how expensive everything else is, I think a couple of millions a fair evaluation. Then there's the cost to produce the physical copies of the game. GTA 5 sold 16 million copies in the first 5 days, so let's say GTA 6 would do 3 times that, but half of them will probably be digital downloads, so that would be 24 million discs. However, it's very likely with the size of the game that the game will probably come on 2 discs, maybe even more, but let's say 2 discs. So in total that's 48 million discs for the first week's worth of sales. These are usually about $3 a disc if you're buying extremely well as a games developer. However, let's assume that Take-Two Interactive are getting an incredible deal for the release of GTA 6, and let's say they're paying $2 a disc. So in total that's $96 million. And now I'm sure there's a ton of things we're missing off this list. Incidentals, the cost of making the booklets and the cases, all of that sorts of stuff, and probably loads of internal costs that I'm missing. But overall, I'm hoping you can get a clearer picture of how this game could cost $2 billion by the time it's launched. Now we need to talk about the gamble. This $2 billion isn't Rockstar's money. This is Take-Two Interactive's money, and at the root of all of these funds is actually the investors' money. If this goes wrong, this could be catastrophic not just for Rockstar, but also Take-Two Interactive. In part 2 of this video series, we're going to talk about exactly that. The possibility of Rockstar getting GTA 6 wrong is very, very unlikely, but it is still possible. So tap subscribe if you don't want to miss out. Thank you all for watching today's video, and a massive thank you to all of my channel members up in the corner. Honestly, your support is massively appreciated, and it's because of you guys that I can actually set a baseline of what my minimum income for the channel would be, and it allows me to spend more time on projects as I'm making them. You may have noticed there's been less uploads over the past 2 weeks, and my editing quality has gone through the roof comparatively to my videos before. That's because I've been able to spend a lot more time on these projects, making them the best that they can be. Rather than having to get videos out in a more regular fashion, I've been focusing on the quality and the production. Thank you all so much once again for your support. I know I keep saying it, but you really don't know how much it means to me, so I do appreciate every single one of you that watches my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Spin the